YouTube, how you doing? It's JP Dunphy, your BMW genius, not at BMW for Washington, but in my basement yet again. So, if anyone has seen this yesterday, when I did this before, you would notice that I was wearing a different outfit for one. But if you're actually watching this, out of curiosity, can you hear me? Because I actually disconnected this thing this time because apparently this was the major problem last time. So I disconnected it altogether to see if, maybe you can actually hear me this time around. So, yeah. Everyone, if you can tell me in the chat if you can hear me, that'd be fantastic. I really hope the answer to that is a solid yes, you can hear me. Yay! Thank you! Go team! So, yes. For any of you, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen our YouTube channel together. I basically did a video using BMW's frequently asked questions on electric cars and PHEVs yesterday, but unfortunately, thank you, loud and clear. That makes me feel very happy. Unfortunately, the entire thing was not caught because my microphone apparently was broken because my kid was playing with it and I didn't know. So, yeah, basically wasn't plugged in, and because it was just looking for it, it was not working. Anyway, neither here nor there. Welcome to my very crappy, unfinished basement. So, yeah. Let's jump right in. Again, I'm not in official BMW garb today. And if you're curious as to what's behind me, I used to be a musician before I started started working for BMW. I was a musical theater guy, so because of that, that's my audition book. And I cosplay as Jack Sparrow. Sorry, wrong side. Boop. Jack Sparrow often when I'm not doing this stuff for like Ren fairs, things of that nature. But again, this is not about me. This is about frequently asked questions that I get as a BMW genius and after sales manager at BMW Fort Washington. I apologize, but I think it's a little bit off. So my camera's over here. I have a big screen right here, which I can't even use because then it cuts off the video screen, which I found that out yesterday as well. So I'm working with a new set of circumstances here with my new setup in my basement. Anyway, let's dive right in. So, first and foremost, I'm going to go over the main questions that I get as a BMW genius and people that are either getting into BMW for the first time, getting into electric cars for the first time, or getting into plug-in hybrids for the first time. So, first and foremost, the number one question I get in terms of basically hybrids and plug-in hybrids is, what's the difference? So, obviously, by the way, if anyone in the chat does have a question, please feel free to ask me. I'll happily answer them live as we go here as well. I do have a couple of the ones written down in my little booklet here that I answered yesterday, but I'd love to add on any extra things that people want to hear, or even if you have questions beyond just this, the main purpose of this video, please, let me know. I'll happily, listen to any, and just thanks everyone for joining in. So let's start right off the bat. Number one question I get when people are coming to BMW from, for instance, a Prius or Honda hybrids, is they say, well, why do I need to plug it in? So first and foremost there's a big difference between a plug-in hybrid and a normal hybrid. So normal hybrids, think Honda's integrated motor assist or Toyota's non-prime hybrids like the Prius normally. Those basically work in such a way that you simply add gas to it like a normal gas car, and then as you drive, your gas motor acts like a generator under most circumstances to charge a small battery that is then used to drive the car. Usually that is mixed on efficiencies and what it is, but it basically doesn't highlight the best of both features. Meaning that, if you ever looked at a Prius's, whether it's the prime or non-prime, but the bottom line is when you have a non-plug-in hybrid, you usually see the gas motor is there to run as a generator for the electric motor, which is never as efficient on the highway, which is why you might see something like, 54 miles per gallon city, 48 highway. That's just because, as you may or may not know, electric motors are not as efficient at highway speeds as they are in stop-and-go traffic and slower speeds. So because of that, it tends to hurt that, fuel economy. Now, the benefit of a plug-in hybrid, which is what BMW makes, we don't do the other ones. We used to do an active hybrid, which was basically our version of the Prius kind of setup, small battery that's charged by the car, but it was okay. That was our third generation. It was average at best. But BMW has since moved to a solely plug-in hybrid setup. This is not to be confused with the mild hybrid setup, mind you. That's basically... Actually, I'll go over that next. But BMW's plug-in hybrid, the idea behind that is it's a bigger battery altogether, and the two can either work, as in the electric motor and the gas motor can either work in conjunction or completely separate from each other. The idea of that being that when you're in a gas motor, it switches to gas at highway speeds because the gas is more efficient, and then it switches usually below 40 miles per hour to electric only, and that's more efficient in that situation. So rather than trying to play a balance or try and make the electric motor more efficient at highway speeds where it's not, it basically combines the two together, which is how you get a slightly higher average economy for the two together. Another question that tends to come in pretty frequently is when you look at the Moroni sticker of a BMW or any hybrid of that nature, you'll obviously see something that says MPGE. So when it comes down to MPGE, a lot of people think that's miles per gallon electric, but it's not. It's miles per gallon equivalent. The idea behind that is because there's so many different kinds of electric drives out there, people try to find kind of the way to talk about and compare how a gas car drives versus an electric car drives, or any kind of combination between those hybrids, hydrogen cars, basically any kind of alternative fuel that may or may not be, actual gas-based, but is usually electric-based as well. But the idea behind that is, the idea is that it's, I'm already blanking on it. I apologize. I should have written this one down. But it's based on BTUs, so British thermal units, and the idea is that how much gas is burnt, how much British thermal units, BTUs, are produced by gas for 1 gallon, how much electricity does it take to make the same, and it basically comes out to about, it takes 1 gallon of gas to burn a certain amount of fuel to make that BTU measurement, is how much it takes for 33 electric units to make the same. So that's how they get to it. Oh, let's hear. You can hear it. Yay! Any idea if the 3 Series plug-in hybrid will get an extra range for 2025? Come back, live chat. There we go. Oh, and I see some other ones in here too. Fantastic. So let me start with Mike because he asked the question first. He said, 2023 BMW i7, best way to charge it at home. Honestly, if you're going to be using any kind of charging at home, highly suggest a level 2 charger. The best way to go, you do get a flex charger with any of the electric vehicles, as well as now the plug-in hybrids, but they don't get the NEMA 1450 adapter, which is that level 2 adapter with it. The downside of that is most times when you plug into a home charger using a NEMA 1450 charger at home, so if anyone of you guys are new, that's going to be your 250 or 240 volts, 50 amp power source. What that basically does, and what it means, is that that's the amount of source going to it. Usually there's a bit of a power drop during that when it goes to a receptacle, and that's usually what gets plugged in. And 9 times out of 10, when you plug into one of those, you're usually only pulling about 40 amps altogether. So that means that you're closer to about like 8.2 kilowatts charging there. So that's going to be probably your second most efficient way to charge at home. The most effective way you can do it at home charging, because you can't do a DC charger at home, is you're going to want to get a hardwired charger that can put out at least 48 amps at the actual charger itself. So usually you can pull in 50 amps altogether. There's a little bit of amperage drop, and that'll basically, if you're running 240 volts at 48 amps, that's 11 kilowatts. That's the max your car can take in for the i7, and that's what you want to charge as fast as you can. That's also where BMW's charging figures come in when they say 0 to 100 in 10 hours. That's how you'll get that one specifically. Now, Kevin, Your turn. Kevin asked, I can hear you this time? Yay. Any idea if the 3 Series plug-in will get an extra range for the 25 model, as I believe it's going to get another LCI in July. Enjoy the content you put out, Kevin here in the UK. Cheers. Nice to hear anyone from across the pond. Thanks for checking us out. Obviously, I'm not entirely sure exactly the UK, the way they measure their miles per gallon and general electric range is a little bit different than the US for EPA standards. So because of that, there's a little bit of difference between the two. And of course, I deeply apologize. I can't remember those things off the top of my head, the actual conversion for that when it comes to the UK cars. But from what I understand, as of right now, the 3 Series plug-in hybrid, so the 330e setup that we get here in the US is unchanged from over in Europe, and they're not getting any kind of a bump as of yet. I believe the idea is that instead of doing another LCI, that they're going to actually start an entirely new model alongside the Neue class, which is, the new class, which should be coming in 2025. Exactly what that is still kind of up in the air. I haven't heard any rumors of a second LCI like Mini's been doing with theirs, kind of running basically the same car since 2014. So to my knowledge, there's no LCI coming with that, but Mini basically ran a similar thing where they had their 2014 model. They ran that until I believe it was 2018 when they had their first LCI, and then that had a second LCI. Yeah, I believe it was a second LCI in 2021, and like an LCI 2.5 in 2023 when they did a little bit of change as well. So that basically didn't really answer your question. I apologize for that. But bottom line of it, right now the 3 Series plug-in hybrid is still running on the 4th generation technology, so it doesn't really get the same getup, even though it now has iDrive 8.8. It doesn't get 8.5 as of yet. It's still running on the older technology, so therefore it's not getting any of the newer stuff. It still charges at 3.7 kilowatts, which is but still a small battery, so you're still fully charged in 5 hours on a level 2 charger or a 240 charger. One thing about UK that's really awesome is that you guys actually use more power than we do. We basically have half the power source in our homes than you guys do, so awesome for you guys. Hopefully we'll actually work on that a good bit. While we're on that thing, something that again comes up a lot is when you get those electric cars, whether it's the plug-in hybrid or full electric, you get the 2 charge cords. So the normal one is your 110 outlets, and that is never going to be a fast charger. So just to put this into perspective, when you use your wall outlet, that puts out, on average, so 110 to 120 volts at about usually 10 amps is where they kind of limited it. Sometimes you might find one with a 15 amp breaker to it, but the average one's 10 amps. What that basically means is that when you're converting that to kilowatts, so volts and amps together to make kilowatts, it comes out to about 1.2 kilowatts, maybe a little bit less. And the major downside of using that to charge any kind of bigger battery, whether it's a Tesla, whether it's a Ford, F-150 Lightning, whatever you might be charging, BMW's iX, i4, i5, i7, that's going to be only putting out a little over 1 kilowatt per hour. Now remember, these batteries are massive, like seriously huge. So think of this in terms of, to try and put this as a comparison altogether, your average wall outlet will put out about 1 kilowatt, measured at about 1 kilowatt per hour. That's the same as running your 1,000-watt microwave for an hour straight. Now your cars, these average cars with electric cars can run, usually have about anywhere between, I've seen as little as 32 kilowatt hour batteries on like the Mini Cooper E, and all the way up to 111.5 kilowatt hour batteries on like the iX. So you're charging those 1 kilowatt at a time, which basically is why if you're looking at the actual charge times for those, on the i4 and i5, you're looking at about 80 hours of charging on a level 1 charger, and you're looking at about 100 hours of charging, which is over 4 days, of charging on a level 1 outlet on your bigger battery cars like the i7 and iX. So Obviously, not the most effective way to do it. It can be done. If you drive maybe 30 to 50 miles a day, you could technically get away with just using a level 1 outlet charger, especially if you're waiting for your level 2 NEMA 1450 plug. Now, if you're looking to actually maximize your charging at home, as mentioned earlier in this thing, I'm not sure how many of you guys have been here during this entire thing, but basically that's going to be maxed out at about 8.4 kilowatts. The best ideally you'll be getting at least 11 kilowatts. That's the maximum AC that can come into these electric cars as of this moment here in the United States. And that's why obviously hardwired at 50 amps is still the best way to go when you're doing that setup. I got another question in here. G20, G21, 3 production until this. Oh, good, you're giving me this nice. And yes, that is definitely true, Kevin, for sure. Exactly what the full changes will be, I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not sure. There's rumors going around right now that they're either going to move over to an iDrive 9 setup with the Android-based system underneath it, which I don't think they will, just because right now it seems like they're kind of testing that right now in the X1 and X2, and if you're over in Europe, the 2 Series Grand, or 2 Series Active Tour, I believe, also has iDrive 9 as of right now over there, and that seems to be going pretty well. But there's some like kind of just basic user interfaces with it that are not really jiving with the users that have taken it so far, especially long-term BMW users that are used to certain features like shortcuts, an iDrive controller. These things are kind of slightly annoying to newer acceptors of this platform that used to have BMWs before. If you are new to BMW, I think it's easier for you to kind of take into this new iDrive 9 setup than the newer ones, but you know, we'll see. All right, so let's go down to my list here again. What is NACS and CCS1 and CCS2? So starting with CCS1 and CCS2, that is basically the combo charge system that is standardized here in the US before the Tesla standard kind of came out. The Tesla standard is the NACS, North American Charging Standard, and that is something that BMW has kind of announced that they will be moving to with the Neue Klasse when it comes out in 2025, starting that thing. Exactly how they're going to pull that out, I'm not entirely sure. I'm curious to see myself if they are going to be offering, I know it's going to be plug and charge because that's basically how it works with the NACS system right now. I know a bunch of other manufacturers are also moving to that system. It's a much better charge standard as of this moment because I believe, if I remember correctly, last time I saw, the downtime for Tesla's charging network is something like maybe 1 to 2% of like the entire thing, which means 98 to 99% of Tesla chargers that are out there are always operational, which is really remarkable, especially when you compare that with Electrify America, EVgo, and ChargePoint's CCS1 standard that's out there for us right now. Those ones are definitely not as reliable. I've seen mixed actual reports onto what they are. I've seen as little as 60% uptime for those systems, and as I think the highest I've ever saw was like 84%, which is obviously nowhere near where Tesla is in terms of their charging network. And I definitely think Tesla's charging network is, the way to go forward. Actually, one of the questions from yesterday that I ended up getting on the side forum after talking about that was, what is the benefit of theirs? So if you've never actually seen a Tesla charger itself, it's kind of brilliant. So they have the exact same connectors as a CCS1 and CCS2 charge standard, but they compact it into this nice, really small, easy to handle package altogether, which makes it sound like a weird porno. Small, easy to handle package, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that on these live chats, but I did. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get reprimanded later. Anywho, benefit of that is that basically all those things, that same little connector, not only does DC direct charging into the battery up to, I believe those things are rated to either 450 or 500 kilowatts, even though none of the power stations put that out as of right now. I think the highest power Tesla station is 350 kilowatts. So honestly, that's fantastic. Electrify America and EVgo also put out those same charge standards. I don't think ChargePoint does it yet, but they might. I haven't been keeping up with ChargePoint lately. They've been letting me down the stock market side of things. But as of right now, that's sort of like the gold standard of charging as of right now, because the other side of it is not only does that connector do that DC charging, but inside the handle they have a little, I can't remember if it's a chip or, it's pretty 99% sure it's a chip, but the chip inside the handle actually allows you to not only run DC charging up to 350 kilowatts, but also basic AC charging too, and because of that, you don't need that thick cable with the cooling lines going through it right now. So if you own an EV right now that is CCS based, it is insanely like rough to try and wrestle that gigantic cord into your charger, whereas Tesla, as of right now, using the same kind of power, doesn't need nearly the same amount of cooling to run the same power. So that's sort of the main benefit of moving to the NACS standard in the future. So as for the CCS standard, so the CCS1 is the North American version, and that looks like a J1772 charger. That's your standard level 2 charger, and it looks like it has a scrotum underneath it with two, direct DC current lines going to it. And over in Europe, it's basically the exact same thing, but instead you have, I can't remember the name of the connector for, that's the European version of the CC or the J1772 on it, but it's basically it's a little bit thicker kind of plug altogether, but it has the same little scrotum underneath, adding that DC charge factor to it. And that's basically where those sit. And again, the downside of the CCS standard, whether you're CCS1 or CCS2, is that it's, again, the charge cord itself is pretty thick and hard to kind of manage, especially if you need to take it a long way or if you're really trying to like wrench it 90 degrees into wherever your car is parked. So that's sort of where that sits. Of course, the other side of Tesla things, all the way up to the V3 Tesla's chargers out there, they all have basically short, and they're made solely for Tesla. So even though they opened up some of their chargers with a CCS combo charge, like Magic Dock is what they call it, I believe they opened up 100 chargers with that as of right now, and it's mostly in the New York, New Jersey kind of like state line connectors right there. And they're good, but the downside of them is, as of right now, they're still based for Tesla cars, so they're not really long. So if you don't have a perfectly positioned Tesla charge point on your car, you're going to have to do some weird kind of maneuvering with it. So I've seen Rivians plugged into it. I've seen BMW iXs. I've seen people come in with their Korean-based cars, so like the Kia Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5 plugging into these things as well. It's cool. It works. It's fine. But it's, a little cumbersome. Supposedly their V4 chargers are going to be longer and more suited for kind of multiple manufacturers now being part of their charge network coming forward. So hopefully there'll be, ways that we can get that plugged in as we make our transition too. I'm not sure if BMW is going to keep, it makes sense that they would just because of aesthetics and being a standard German brand, but I'm not sure if BMW, when they make the Neue class, is going to switch sides when they change the NACS standard on their cars. I think if they want to make it as easy as possible, they would. Again, I'm not on the design team for that. I don't want to claim to know what's going to happen with that. But if I was the one designing it and moving to that standard, I want to make it as usable with as many charges as possible when I move to that standard. So I would put it on the passenger side in the rear so that it matches up with where Tesla puts theirs to make it an easier transition for it. I already went over why the chargers things won't too. I already went over level 2. PHEV charge rate. So if you're new to PHEVs for BMW, you might be the only real new BMW PHEV that's coming out is plug-in hybrid that's out there right now is the X5 50E. Now, there is a 7 Series, a 750E that's coming out as well. That'll be using that same drivetrain, basically, but in a 7 Series. That will obviously have the updated system, and there's rumors, not confirmed, but very, very possible rumors that the 5 Series is going to bring back the plug-in hybrid for them, but they're going to get rid of the 530 here in the United States at least, and they're coming with the 550E. That would be fantastic. I would love to see that personally, and supposedly that's going to be replacing what used to be the M550 in terms of like the power output and all that, because that system as of right now with the turbo inline 6 and the electric motor right now puts out about 482 horsepower, which would be fantastic at a 5 Series. I would love to see that, and I really hope the BMW goes forward with that. Now, unlike yesterday, when I was completely not, able to be listened to because my mic was broken, but I told you, rather I said, but you didn't hear, that when I had Carrie ask about BMW's Neue Class and basically what that 6th generation battery technology is supposed to get. I said that was in my notebook, and I brought my notebook with me. So, let's go over it. According to what's going on right here, so what we know so far about BMW, this is going to be what they've kind of said, as well as a little bit of rumor that was out there. Some of it was supposedly BMW inside people that was portrayed to a couple online sources, which again, I can't verify this, but then this is what's been said. Everything else that's come out is right here. So as of right now, the major benefits of the Neue Class is that they're going to be coming out and moving from a 400 volt architecture to an 800 volt architecture. I am hoping against all hope. One of the things, and I'll go over this when it comes into this thing, but what they've released so far is the new batteries are going to be 20% higher in energy density. They're switching to a cylinder type battery instead of the current modular battery setup. It's going to be 30% more range, 30% more efficient packaging, and 30% faster charging. In addition, the new cells are going to be 20% lighter, 50% more cost effective to produce, and 60% less CO2 emissions in production. Now, part of the rumor side of that is that the high performance charger, which is going to be a new thing that's coming out with it as well, is supposed to, and this is the quote that I can't verify, but the quote is, high performance charger means that it will only take 12 minutes to charge from 0 to 95%, all using current excited synchronous SSM, stable peak performance, higher energy density, excellent repeatable performance, and low noise with a 97% efficiency rating for the motors. Now, breaking all that down, basically BMW they're not going for like the massive range effect when it comes to their newer ones. I believe the newer battery packs are going to range anywhere between 75 kilowatts to 150 kilowatt hours in terms of full storage. They're not going anything bigger than that. They're not doing like Rivian Max Pack style, anything like that, just because I put in my notes here, battery packs will range from about 75 to 150 kilowatt hours, and the ranges will be up to 621 miles. Going more extreme on the range for bigger battery cells would be counterproductive because of weight and size penalties when you go up to those bigger battery cells. Rather, increasing efficiency by further reducing rolling resistance, increasing onboard efficiency, and providing better aerodynamics by a stated 25% in the current testing that they've done, means that basically instead of putting more power and making it less efficient, for instance, let's look at a lot of GM's stuff as of right now. They have massive battery packs, huge battery packs. Really cool, fun to talk about, but they're so flippin' heavy. So even if you make 1,000 horsepower, it's not gonna matter because you're adding like an extra 1.5 tons to the car just by adding the extra battery. That also means longer charging times altogether. It's going to mean longer times at any DC charger, and all that means less efficiency for the rest of the people around you. So, you get around that by making the onboard charger more efficient. You do better by making your car more efficient, lighter, and all that. Now, again, the thing that I kind of took away from this as well, with that whole onboard efficiency and the 62% less CO2 emissions in production and 50% more cost effective to produce, I have a sneaking suspicion that that's not just the batteries themselves. I think they're actually talking about the batteries and the entire system on board. And what I think that means is that they're moving from a 12-volt system to a full onboard 48-volt system. Now, if you didn't know this, this is another thing I covered yesterday as well. The 48-volt system on board is huge. Now, Tesla is the first to actually do this as of right now in actual production models with the Cybertruck. And a major benefit of this, so if you didn't know, power, the way you make power is you basically have voltage times current. That's the basic electrical engineering, electrical engineering basics of how you make power. So it's your voltage times your current. And the benefit of moving from a 800 volt architecture or 400 volt architecture to 800 volt architecture means that since your power output is not changing, you're still making the same power. That means that when you double your voltage, that by nature has to half the amount of current. That is super awesome all around, mainly because when you look at that, so the whole point of doing that for BMWs and their battery packs means that current determines the wire size that you use. Now, same power with less current means that it's smaller wires are needed, which means less copper, which means less weight, which means saved money. This is only good stuff when you look at it. So yeah, I got my little, again, I don't even know if this is coming out the right way, but my cheat sheet basically goes over all this. And the other little thing I have down here is the other major benefit of moving to a higher voltage system also is your power loss due to heat is significantly reduced. And the way you find that out is it's a current squared times resistance. So obviously the more wire you have, the more resistance, and current creates heat. So current squared times resistance, that's your power loss due to heat. And again, if you are doubling your voltage, that means that you're halving your current. And if you take half the amount of current squared, that means it's a quarter the amount of current, which means that you have a quarter the amount of heat loss, which means more efficient. All that basically runs into exactly what's been already claimed and said to come out of the Neue class as it comes out. So that makes me super excited for it. The other massive benefit of it means that I have a sneaking suspicion that moving to that also means that they're going to move to that 48 volt system as an onboard setup as well. Because same concept, moving from a 12 volt to a 48 volt system, that's that's 4 times the voltage, but the same power output to run the onboard electronics means that again your current needed is a quarter of what it was, which means that again less copper, less wires, and less weight. All this can only help in efficiency, and I really hope that more manufacturers do it. Big shout out to Tesla just for doing that in general, which is fantastic. I really hope they do that going forward, and that would be amazing. And I'm here for it. I am so here for it. Yeah. So another question that tends to come out pretty frequently is when you're DC charging, if you've ever been in a BMW, or if you're a current owner, or if you've gotten into a test drive and you played with the settings, you may have seen that one of the things that says in the cars is, if you go to choose where your battery charges to, there's a thing that basically recommends 80%. Now I want you to read that a little bit further, because 80%, it says 80% for fast charging efficiency and route planning. Basically what that means is if you're going on a road trip, you don't want to be sitting at the charger for an extra 40 minutes to an hour to go that 80 to 100% as opposed to that 10 to 80%. So the charge curve, if you ever seen it, let me draw this out real quick. I'm also trying to figure out if I raise my right hand right now, are you guys seeing my right hand raised? And more importantly, if I show you this, are you seeing, or if I show you, give it a little bigger thing, is this the right way to you guys, or are you seeing this in mirror image? If anyone wouldn't mind, let me know in the comments. Is this mirror image to you guys, or do you see it like as I write it? No response. That's fine. All right. I'm going to assume that it's mirror imaged. So I'll basically do this one of two ways. So I'll do 1 and 2. I'm basically going to draw this normal ways and then in reverse. So whichever way you're looking at it, it's going to be good. So time, power. So basically I'm drawing out the charge curve right here. And the way it normally looks is you have that, and it kind of comes down and levels out. Let's do the new charge level with that. Same thing, up, over. And let's do this in reverse. Apologies, I'm doing this live with you guys here, so I'm trying to figure out again if this is all in. And green comes up. Alrighty, so welcome to the world's worst forwards and backwards drawing. So I have no idea which version of this you guys are seeing, but trying to walk you through this. So basically the average charge curve for electric cars today is they basically start off at a nice high rate and then they charge pretty efficiently until that 80%. And that's when it starts to normally step down and just become less and less and less over time. Now again, if you're seeing this in reverse, it basically comes up, comes over, and then at 80%, it slowly starts to step its power down to basically become a trickle charge up to that 100% if you have it set for that. Now, some of the newer systems, like the newer i5, this basically runs this green line, so it's a much smoother charge rate and can also go at a slightly higher rate. So instead of 195 kilowatts, it takes 205, which lowers the charging time to from 10 to 8% from 35 to about 28 minutes. So that's nice. And again, same thing up here. Now, the way I used to put this out there is another question that was answered on the last one is, why does it take so much longer to do that 80 to 100% charge as opposed to that 10 to 80% charge? I used to put it out there as, if you think of it as if you took an empty gallon of milk and then you took a power washer and you just stuck it on the lip and started to fill it full blast. For the first little bit, it's going to basically be fine filling up until you get to that last, basically, bottleneck at the top. That's when it's going to start to overflow, cause a bunch of problems. So you need to basically pull back on the power going into it to make it fill more gradually and therefore not cause damage. Another analogy that's been put out there is a gigantic parking lot. So if you think of this as a mall parking lot, you're sitting in a mall parking lot and no one's there. And then suddenly, 9 o'clock hits, the gates open, and, hundreds of thousands of cars start flooding in. As they start coming in, that first 80% of the lot being filled, it's just going to find nice and easy. Places for it everywhere. Just because, don't forget, to make this work, you basically have anode and cathode, and electrons move from one side to the other to either cause create charge or take in charge. But they need somewhere to stay. They need somewhere to, park. So, as it goes there, does the parking. After 80%, it gets a little harder to find it. If you go to the mall during the holidays, it's a little harder to find that final parking spot. You'll still eventually find one, and you do find it, but again, it takes longer. It's not like if you just got there at the beginning, finding a parking spot's pretty fast and easy. I believe Elon Musk also said this in a recent interview. I mentioned this in one of my shorts, and someone was like, Elon Musk said that too. I was like, I've been saying this for 3 years, so, if Elon Musk did it, great. All props to Elon Musk. I think he's a pretty cool guy for the most part. Yes. Trying to think what else I have here. Any questions from, the 8 current viewers that are watching this? Also, thank you for the thumbs up. That helps us out on these live things. Again, sorry I'm not actually in BMW garb today. This is chill. Obviously, it's late at night, and I'm just trying to get some stuff done while my kids sleep upstairs. So I went over the Noia class. Oh, I remember another question that I didn't get to answer yesterday. One of the questions that I was asked yesterday was, is BMW coming out with the iX3 and the iX1 here in the US? So, to answer that, basically it seems that over in Europe they already have the iX3 out with the current generation battery stuff, and I think it's a great car. I think it would have done fine here. Supposedly for the United States market, it's not a very effective range when you switch from Europeans testing to the EPA tests. So supposedly that was it. Plus it only comes in a rear-wheel drive at this moment over in Europe, not an all-wheel drive, and apparently here in America, it's not good if it's not all-wheel drive. I disagree. I drive an i4 eDrive 35. I love it, and it's fine in snow, and I haven't had any problems. It's all about the tires. Anyway, that's time for another... That's a different things. Oh, that actually reminds me of another question. Oh, let me finish this first question first. Sorry. Are they going to be bringing it here? I don't think they're going to be bringing it anytime soon. I think with the 6th generation battery tech that's coming out, they are going to bring it here, because that's going to be a scalable setup, which can basically range from the X1 style all the way up to, in theory, an i7. So like a 3-row SUV electric car, which is probably the one that's going to get that 150 kilowatt hour battery pack going forward. And I'd like to see that. Nothing like a giant electric people hauler. But yeah, so I don't think it's going to be coming here. Technically speaking, the iX1 is coming here to the US, but it's coming as the U25 Mini Countryman SE. So that's the only one we get here. They get the Mini Countryman E over in Europe. So they get 2 models, the E and the SE, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive over in Europe. We're only getting the all-wheel drive here in the United States as a 2025 model year car, but we'll be getting it by probably summer of 2024. So technically speaking, if you want a BMW iX1, get the Mini Countryman SE. That's coming out, in 6 months or 7 months. That's the way to go. That's actually what I'm going to be switching my i4 to, because I love Mini, and this will now be my 10th Mini when I get this. Massive fan of Mini. Yes. I think that's kind of it. That's sort of it, unless oh, sorry, Kevin. Didn't see that there. Will iDrive 9 be for smaller screens, or will the larger 14.9 also get it? Not entirely sure as of right now. So I think it's a supply chain thing at this moment. So the benefit of when we move to the smaller screen, like the almost 12-inch screen that's in the X1 and X2, and the 2 Series Active Tour over in Europe, I believe the benefit of that is it's small enough and it's a new system, so it's easy to just simply say, great, let's just make it from scratch and put it in there. As of right now, I think, and I can confirm this with a couple of my sources from BMW North America, and that's actually in corporate. I can confirm with them and show in a later video, because I don't want this to run too long. I'm already 44 minutes in, which seems insane. I don't feel like I've been talking for that long. But basically, I don't think it's going to be moving to the 14.9-inch screen yet, solely because I believe that as of right now, the 8 and 8.5 system that's on that 14.9-inch screen is a supply chain basically contract. So I believe that they're still going to Linux based systems to make the software that, or the operating system that runs on that. I believe they have another year or year and a half left on those before they move to a full Android automotive system behind it all. If you haven't had the chance, by the way, all 7 of you currently watching, definitely go check out a 2024 X1 or X2 when they come in later this month. I do think it's a really good system. Again, if you're new to BMW, I think you'll love the system. Its integration into Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is really, really top-notch, and the fact that it's all touch-based is really nice. And I think it works well. It's not too far enough. Like the 14.9 screen, when you're trying to like go to the edge, you're like really trying to reach for it. And obviously, if you're driving, that's not fun. A smaller, 11.5-inch screen, a little bit closer, all right here, easy to see and maneuver. And with Mini's upcoming, round OLED display, the only one in the entire automotive industry, that's going to be a lot of fun to also work with. So I look forward to that. Any other questions from viewers before I kick this thing off and, say thank you for coming in? Kevin, by the way, thanks so much for all your questions. I really appreciate you jumping in on the chat. You've been fantastic. It's nice. I don't usually get very live people coming in on the chat there. And yeah, I guess if there's nothing else from anyone else, just simply say thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in so late at night, and I appreciate you guys for coming on the channel. I appreciate the 4 likes that I've gotten on the channel so far in this particular live stream, and 5 likes. Yay, thank you. Woo-hoo! All the likes. Go team. And yeah, so appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, if you're catching this video after the fact, if you're watching a recording of it after it, if you found this video helpful, obviously like, comment, share, subscribe. As of right now, when it comes to the channel itself, we get a lot of views. I mean, the views I end up getting on this channel are pretty substantial, which is great. I hope that if anyone is watching this is comfortable with it, I would love if you'd subscribe. You don't need to hit the bell icon. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe to absolutely everything. Watch every single video I put out, but the subscriptions definitely help us. And when I hit that 10,000 subscribers, that's going to be fun. I'd love to put that plaque behind me at work and just say, built this thing from scratch, so let's see where we can go with it. And yeah, again, thanks so much. This channel's nothing without you guys, and I appreciate you tuning in. Have a great rest of your night, everyone, and, keep driving. And let me jump over here. Unplug, and good Lord, this thing doesn't want to end. Apparently you guys are stuck with me an extra minute because this thing does not want to cancel out.